Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings, greetings.
Ah, my gosh. Not enough of the good stuff yet to be doing shows.
You've had a hectic day, I'm sure. Running around trying to crank out extra work there at the brewery
I've had a heretic day, yes, which is
every day.
pretty much every day, pretty much all the time. That's pretty much what having a brewery is about.
I bet. I bet so.
I will tell you. All right, so I've been thinking about telling you this. I haven't mentioned this to you, texted you this or anything because I wanted to save this especially for a show
Excellent.
where I could tell people what kind of a weird, freaky dude I really am. Because, well, a couple of things. One is because of the coronavirus and me being immune compromised,
Yep.
my wife and I have to sleep in separate bedrooms. So I'm down in the little guest bedroom downstairs
Oh, yes. I've slept there
uh,
many times. Yes.
while she's up in the master suite.
Uh,
But that has allowed me to separate out our toiletries. Right? So I'm using completely separate toiletries, bars of soap, toothpaste, shampoos, what have you. And so one of the things that I've been doing is tracking my use per gram of my toiletries.
uh-huh.
And I've got a spreadsheet for every type, like a shampoo, a conditioner, bar soap, toothpaste, mouthwash, face wash, anything that is consumed. I haven't been weighing the toilet paper. I will say that because when you and my point being, when you travel,
Uh-huh.
uh, you have to carry. I like to carry all this stuff with me. I have curated over the years a number of products which makes all this beauty possible. You see,
I've always wondered.
exactly. It doesn't come cheap or easy. Well, I do, but the products don't. So what I've been doing is measuring these things out because then I know based on the duration of the trip how much of each product I would need. And thus I can apply the appropriate size container. Would it be like a 50 mil, 60 mil, 70 mil, 80 mil, 100 mil, whatever it might be? So I will only carry with me the appropriate amount of shampoo and soap and conditioner and all this. I know how many grams exactly if I'm doing, because I do some longer trips. I mean, I did a
Uh-huh.
5-weeker there in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And for 5 weeks, I ran out of like certain things. And then, of course, they have those products
Yeah, I was
in
going to say the
Europe.
wardens usually supply a few things like that.
Exactly. But I mean, they have it, and you can go, to the Tesco or whatever and pick up, bar of soap. Although bar soap is really hard to find in Europe, it's all liquid soap.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyways, but the same smell, the same feeling on your skin, very difficult to find. So that's why people take stuff with them. And so being the particular SOB I am, I like to bring my own and I like to not run out. And so I have been measuring to the gram how many, and this has been a good, coming on 60 plus days of tracking. So I know over time, exactly how much I need of each product. And so the benefit being, I will carry, people say, well, why not just throw a big old bottle in there and carry it with you? It's like, well, because that's extra weight, that's
Yeah.
extra space. And you know what gets left behind when there's extra weight and extra space
Beer.
taken up? It's beer.
Yep.
And we just don't want to see that happen. Come
True.
on.
True.
Let's be reasonable here. Why are we on this planet? It's all about beer.
That's right.
So through these methods, I think I've freed up enough. I mean, I was already pretty tight on that, but I think I've freed up enough space to carry a couple more cans of beer with me on my next trip. Huh?
That's very, very interesting. The dedication to actually define how much that is and how much exactly you need. That's significant. I never would have thought of doing that. I don't have your perspicacity and
Perspicacity.
yeah.
No, no. But now that you've heard it, see, this is the thing. The same reason that bidet sales shot up.
Yes.
The the same reason. Now everybody's going to be doing this. They're like, oh yeah, you just you little gram scale, little kitchen scale, and you just measure at the start of a month later. Weigh it again, and then you go, okay, here's how many grams of these products I use in a month. And then if you're going on a long trip, you don't have to take this giant ass jug of shampoo with you. You can take just, and it's surprising how, this is the Marie Kondo of, travel here. That's who I am. I'm just, I'm a little OCD and a lot curious about measuring things.
That's very interesting. I always use what's in the hotel.
I know you that's the difference, John.
Yeah. I take what's there, use it. Don't really pay attention.
Well,
I mean, of course there are the times that I've accidentally brushed my teeth with, hemorrhoid cream or something like that because not paying attention. So there is that downside.
Because they have a tube of hemorrhoid cream in the hotel you're at.
Yeah. Or, or it's lotion or something else, that I pick it up and not realize what it is. Yeah.
Diva says, my travel planning is insane. No. This is the thing. You've got to be efficient. If you are going to go on the road for 5 weeks,
yes,
you really need to be prepared. You need to, I map out where I'm going to do laundry, because all I take is one little rolly case. I don't take
you are efficient. I fall at the other end. I carry a very large aluminum suitcase that will fit anything I want to bring home.
Right. Dead body. What have you?
Small marsupials. But I mean, then they're on the other end of the spectrum. There's Stan Hieronymus, where for a 2 or 3 week trip, he's got his day pack.
He's got a little brown paper bag with
that's all he carries.
A banana and a sandwich in it, and that's it. Yeah. See, I can't do that. I for one, I need to be clean. I need to be properly bathed, washed from head to toe every morning. I cannot approach the day without bathing. I can't, I've got to be clean shaven. I've got, all this stuff needs to happen. Otherwise, I can't handle it.
Wild yeast and bacteria. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, more than others, I am covered in yeast. That's a fact. Well, who else is a bit of an OCD kind of guy?
Oh yeah. That's putting it mildly. I mean, his attention to detail.
Our friend John Blickman. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, attention to detail is a good way to put it. That brilliant engineering mind of his, put towards, just every little last aspect of brewing. I know for a fact that, I'm OCD about the beers that we make. I guarantee you he's OCD about everything that they make there at Blickman Engineering.
That's for sure.
It's not enough. Take a look at. I'll give you an example. The Blickman beer gun. When they came out with it, everyone's like, "It's a revolution in how we fill beer bottles. This is fantastic. Works perfectly, right?" So what did he do? But take feedback, stress testing, everything he could, and fix any little thing that might be slightly, could be improved, right?
He improved it. Yep.
Was less than flawless. Okay, well, we need to address that. That's the way the guy rolls. Brilliant guy, really sweet, kind, intelligent, nice guy. I can't say enough good stuff about him. We should stay. What are the bad things about him? I mean, other than that, horrible basement torture room he has.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a matter of choice, lifestyle, I think.
It is. But he's got the whiskey bar next to it, so I think
Right,
it
right.
balances out.
It is a 50-50. It is a
Yeah.
give and take. Yeah. So I think, one of the greatest things he's done is sponsored this show for 15, 16 years or so.
Right.
I'm up on 2 decades. He's paid for the show. He literally has paid for the show so that we're on and that we keep doing this. So if you appreciate that, and then the massive backlog of information that we've done over the 500 hours we've been on the air, I would say take a minute of your time, rattle off a quick email to feedback@blickmanengineering.com and tell John that you appreciate that he has paid for this show. And you could go to their website, check out any new gear they have. They've got lots of interesting stuff that will help your brew day be better. So check them out. Today, we wanted to talk about low alcohol, non-alcoholic beers. It seems like a real, buzz word or, a passion for a lot of people right now. They're worrying about the effects of alcohol. They want to have a non-alcoholic option for those times when, they're working on the lawnmower or, instead of just mowing with it, various things. And so it's become quite popular now. It's one of those trending things.
Yeah.
Session beers kind of came and went, I think.
Yeah.
Brewers were more interested in it than consumers. Non-alcoholic beers, I think, has a little more staying power than low alcohol beer
For the consumer.
Beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the consumer is interested. John, how would you define a low alcohol beer? I mean, or what are the definitions around low or no alcohol beer?
Sure. Well, it varies state to state, country to country, but in general, when we're talking about low alcohol beers, we are talking about the low end of the session beers, something less than 2.5% ABV. For a no alcohol beer here in the United States, that has to be less than 1/2 ABV, 1/2%.
Right.
Now, if you can you can even go further than that. If you want to say that a beer is alcohol free, or actually wouldn't be a beer at that point, this fermented beverage is alcohol free.
Yeah.
It has to be less than 0.05%.
Well, and that's interesting. That is a new development because you could say no alcohol and have up to 0.5%. And then I guess it was Heineken that came out with a 0.00 beer that was alcohol free. And all of a sudden, they came up with rules in order to call something alcohol free, or it's technically, I think it's able to say it is 0 alcohol on the label.
I think
that's the requirement, that it be less than 0.05, or it has to truly be, if you're going to say it's 0% on the label, because I guess people were saying no alcohol and wanted to call it 0%, and they're saying no, that doesn't work. No alcohol is actually 0.5%. And so they came up with this whole new term, alcohol free. Have you tried the Heineken Zero beer?
I have not. Oddly enough, the opportunity or the circumstances have never come up.
I had people try and sneak it to me and go, hey, what do you think of this beer? Like, well, it's watery and it's missing some of the alcohol character. I'm like, this must be like a low alcohol, no alcohol beer. And sure enough, there you go. So I thought it was pretty good, though. I thought for an alcohol-free beer, I thought that was pretty spot on. I was, I certainly wouldn't drink it because I don't need random calories without alcohol.
There you go. Yeah, what's the point?
Right, exactly. I mean, I've got to admit, I drink beer for the flavor, but I also the alcohol that's in it, makes me far more attractive, funnier, smarter. and able to do
I'm,
shows.
yeah.
Without it, I'm at a loss. I'm a very quiet, very boring person.
Mm.
So I cannot do the show and I'm a bit of a fat person, so I need fewer calories. If I'm going to put calories in for a drink, it's got to have some alcohol in it.
Yeah.
That's the way I
There's
do
got to
it.
be that trade-off. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to drink non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah. It is kind of adjustment, I think, in expectations because, all of us have drank, soda pop all our life, Coca-Cola, root beer, whatever. And then you make the switch to carbonated water and flavored carbonated water like LaCroix and Bubbly and some of these other brands. I remember
Buble.
the first time I tried it, I was like, bleh, it's like, what's the point? It's terrible. But after you get used to drinking carbonated water, and which they do in Europe a lot, I've really grown to appreciate having, carbonated water at dinner and so on. And then having a twist of lime or, some lemon flavor in it is nice. So now I've made that adjustment. I think with regard to low alcohol and no alcohol beers, potentially there is that epiphany waiting for me, down the road here.
Sure. I, I just don't see that happening. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we will start to talk about how you brew a no alcohol beer or a low alcohol beer. And if you've got questions, the absolutely gorgeous Miss Bevo is watching the comment section of Facebook Live, and we'll pass your questions on to us. So don't be shy. Ask your questions. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're back. We're talking low and no alcohol beers. So, John, what are the traditional methods of low alcohol, no alcohol? How's this been done in the past?
Okay, well, I think the most traditional method is to heat up the beer, basically boil off the alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And many of the near beers and so on of days gone by were made that way. And this can be done for homebrew as well. Basically, what you do is you take your freshly fermented batch of beer and raise it up to about 180 degrees Fahrenheit or 78 degrees Celsius, 70, 74, or sorry, 79, 80 degrees Celsius. And that is a temperature where the alcohol will evaporate off. Now, the downside to heating up your beer is that, of course, this causes any oxygen that's present to oxidize the beer as well. And you rapidly promote many of these staling flavors that we always abhor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the application of heat to beer introduces heat staling, and that comes from the mash and how the grains were treated. Higher kiln grains, except for roasted malt for some reason, really dark kiln grains. But crystal malts and things like that add to staling, heat staling, as well as does temperature. Bamforth was always saying, 20 degree C adds to 20 or 10 degrees C,
10 degrees C.
doubles the rate of staling. So
Yeah.
a beer stored 20 Fahrenheit or 10 degrees C, higher ends up if you store for a month, it's like it's 2 months older. And so when you try and produce a low alcohol beer by applying heat, you're staling that beer rapidly. You're going many 10 degrees C multiples, and it's a logarithmic thing. I think it's not a linear thing.
That's right. So you've made this low alcohol beer where you've evaporated a lot of your volatiles, a lot of your beer character. Now you could put that character back in by doing some dry hopping, or maybe doing some krausening with some fresh beer to get some of that beer character back. But by and large, the point is that this method for producing low alcohol beers has never been a favorite method. Brewers are always looking for something better
Well,
to get a more of a fresh beer character.
I will say that as far as the evaporation method goes and the heated method goes, is that it one is fairly cheap to do. Two, the beer has been fully attenuated.
Yes.
I think when you're trying to, arrest fermentation or, somehow stop fermentation, you end up with a worty beer. And the taste of wort is not beer.
Right.
I find that more offensive to my palate than, a non-alcoholic beer. But the thing I'm curious about is, could you do this method of heating and produce heat staling, and will a yeast like Brettanomyces or a krausening of some other yeast be able to reverse some of that staling? I know that they're able to reverse oxidative staling because I've proved that to myself multiple times over. I've heard Bamforth and Dr. Lewis talk about it. So,
yeah.
And it'll work with Brett. I'm not sure, but could you make a non-alcoholic beer through evaporation and then clean it up with some addition of Brett? Maybe do kind of a Belgian kind of thing.
That's a very good idea. I think that could work. As you say, we've seen similar benefits in otherwise oxidized beers. Yeah, I think there's some merit to that.
Well, maybe I'll give it a try. I've got a 5-barrel distillery, and I'm trying to get myself a 5-barrel brew plant to play around with. I mean, we could brew a 5-barrel batch of beer. The thing is, distilling it's not worth anything unless it's high ABV.
Right.
But we could transfer it over there, distill it, and then take that wort back or that beer back, and then dress it with some Brettanomyces and see if it actually turns out to be a nice low ABV beer. That's all right. I've got another interesting challenge on my plate.
Yeah, that could work. I mean, as you say, most beer yeast fully attenuate the beers, and then you're coming back with some Brett to try to work on the dextrins a bit. Yeah, that might work. And you may now, depending on how much, if you have to add more fermentables to get that Brett to be invigorated and active, you may end up with like a 2.5% as opposed to 1.5%. But
I think here's one of the differences between Brett and a lot of other sack strains, is that it will, it keeps working in the background.
Yeah.
It doesn't need like an active condition to go. Whereas
true.
A lot of other yeasts will go dormant in a low sugar, environment. Brett will look to consume your barrel, consume whatever is there, just to keep going. So I think that's definitely a possibility. So what other types of solutions are there? There's the traditional homebrew, heated up and kind of boil off the alcohol.
And now they can improve on that by doing it under vacuum.
And you could do that. Pressing. I mean, there's cheap vacuum pumps available on eBay, and maybe you could make a lid to seal on your kettle and heat it up that way and draw off that way. What kind of temperatures are we talking if you pull a full vacuum?
Well, there are commercial dealcoholizers that can get the boiling point all the way down to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So
wow,
that
how is that possible?
I get high pressure, high vacuum pressure, I guess.
Well, because isn't so here's another question for you, which I don't know. I don't necessarily know the answer to, although I know a lot of crap. I do. Isn't the amount of vacuum you're able to pull limited to the atmosphere here on the planet? I mean, can you ever pull more than, the one atmosphere, the 15 point?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, with an active pump, yeah. I
how,
mean,
how can you pull? I mean, you can pull more negative than the atmosphere. I mean, once you've removed all the pressure that exists around you,
you well,
go
you
further.
risk collapsing the vessel, which has
Yes.
happened many times.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean,
So you
if
can
you,
get to instead of zero pressure, you can get to a negative pressure.
I don't think you can get to, well, yeah. I
Again,
don't
because
think you
if
can get
you're
less than zero. I don't think you, and
well, see,
I
that's the thing. So
yeah.
we're here at 15.4 or whatever we're at, and 15.4, 15.7. I'm losing my mind. Uh, and once you've drawn all that out using a vacuum pump,
You're at zero.
you're at
Yeah.
absolute zero. So you
Which is
can't,
should be equivalent to outer space. Yeah.
right? You can't go more vacuum than that.
Right.
So I don't see alcohol vaporizing at 65 degrees Fahrenheit
Oh,
in vacuum. I'm not sure that that is correct. I think it's much higher.
well,
I think we need to Google this.
okay. I was reading in the magazine here in the New Brewer by
Uh-huh.
article by Keith Villa, and he
Uh-huh.
was talking about this alkalizer product that
Right.
was able to do it at 65. So,
Right. I've talked to those folks, and
uh-huh.
I wonder if I don't know how this is possible because um, somebody quick Google alcohol vaporization temperature at absolute at full vacuum. Come on, Facebook. Yeah, I'm just not sure, but I've talked to those folks and
Okay.
I've tasted the products that come out of that, and actually it was pretty good because one of the problems with most of the vacuum bits of equipment that will remove alcohol is that it requires you to heat it up to 100 and something.
Yeah.
Got to get it to like
120.
120 or something like that.
Right.
So how are they getting down to 65? I don't know. They won't send me any drawings, diagrams, data sheets. I tried to ask them how much energy it took to do this, and they wouldn't send me that either. They're just like,
Okay.
no, we have to talk to you on the phone. I'm like, just email me whatever information you have about your product. And they were just like, no. We'll
Okay.
send somebody out there to talk to you. I'm like, okay, for God's sakes, I'm not doing business with you because you're too much trouble to work with. If you can't email like a data sheet, just some information whatsoever, zero information. They're like, no, this is all protected. We can't give you any information about it. We will send you the machine and the price. That was it.
I
So
see.
I
Yeah.
got no interest talking to you.
Right.
But there was another folks, real nice folks that did bother to send me information and sent me beers that were an osmotic membrane. What's
Oh
that,
yeah.
John? What
Okay. Well,
what
so
are they talking
basically,
about with osmotic membrane?
yeah, that's basically reverse osmosis of your beer. We use reverse osmosis for water. We use it to do, remove, to draw the water through the membrane and
Right.
leave a high salt content behind.
Which is essentially what they're doing because the
Yeah,
alcohol mixes with the water fully.
right. The water and alcohol come out through the membrane,
Mm-hmm.
leaving a beer concentrate behind.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've pulled off the amount of alcohol you want to pull off, then you can add back deaerated, deionized water
Mm-hmm.
to rehydrate that beer concentrate. And you can get a substantially beer tasting, not beery tasting non-alcoholic beer.
Well, there you go. I bet you, my friends at Brew Chatter up in Reno or
Oh
Sparks,
yeah.
they if people are interested in non-alcoholic beer, they probably got it figured out already and have a kit available to make non-alcoholic beer. Great folks. They're really clever in their knowledge of brewing. They have a great selection of equipment, great website. They're doing a lot of work in trying to support the brewing community. It seems far more important to them than actually selling you stuff is somehow improving home brewing and making the brew community stronger and smarter. They work really hard at that. They put a lot of dedication in that. I'm really, really pleased to know those guys. And to call them my friends. They've decided to sponsor the show too.
Excellent. Excellent.
That? So there's some questioning their sanity, but and business acumen. But other than that, really good guys, top guys. You check them out, brewchatter.com, or if you're happen to be around Sparks, go by and check them out. It's a lovely place. They got beer on draft. Wonderful folks. You won't regret taking time from your day to visit them. Brewchatter.com. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more about brewing your own low and no alcohol beers right after this. All right, we're back. We're talking low and no alcohol beers. And how you brew them. There's a lot of interest in it, and I think it's kind of cool. And I think Peter, I think I could do Jamil's packing corner. I think we could teach young men to pack for the last 30 years. He says yes. And our dear friend Mitch Steele is listening, and he
very cool.
Enjoying our topic.
His ears must have been burning, right? Yeah. Well, as we were saying about the membrane filtration.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to caution our homebrewing audience on before they rush out and try to force beer through their home reverse osmosis system is that the beer needs to be filtered before it goes into the reverse osmosis. Yeast will plug up the membrane.
Yes.
And so, you need to have
clear. Will do it. And he needs to be brilliantly clear beer. Yeah. But that's the same thing for these commercial units. I think they have, a way of washing across the filter as they go, which helps.
Yeah. So just, before you tried your home unit, want to throw that out there a little.
Anytime you're trying your home unit, you need to be careful of what might happen.
Like using one of the pillowcases for brewing a bag, before you do that.
Right. Maybe Google a few things.
Yeah.
And one of the other things, I think a lot of the standard reverse osmosis filter membranes, I wonder if they are able to handle the ethanol that's in there and some of the higher alcohols that are present, that it might break that down. I think one of the, I considered briefly, just trying running some beer through our RO unit and see what happens. Because it may work, but I wonder how long the membrane would last. I think that the membranes in these commercial units have are designed with a resistance to alcohol. They don't break down alcohols, because I think some of these are membranes that are produced are organic in a way.
I don't know enough about them.
Right. So that may be an issue. The other thing is, in order to get the product out that they do and the level that they do, it works at high pressure. So you need to apply quite a bit of pressure. And reverse osmosis works better at higher pressure. The greater the pressure, the more yield you will get on the other side of the membrane. The lower, you could recirculate your beer through multiple times, I imagine, at a lower pressure. But if you're going to do this, realize that you can't just pump the beer through at, one psi. You have to kind of simulate. If you're going to try a home unit, you're going to have to try using, essentially city water pressure. Get yourself one of these RV water pumps, and that can go to 100 psi, and use that to pump it through at high pressure, and see what kind of yield you get then. If anybody tries this, one, we didn't tell you to do it, and we're not guaranteeing your safety or success.
Right.
Here's a waiver of all the damage to your equipment, but give it a try and let us know what happens. You can email us, brewstrong@thebrewingnetwork.com, and let us know what the hell happened, and how pleased or disappointed you are that you listened to us. Huh?
Very good. Yeah, we can even help you send in your tape to America's Funniest Home Videos. Anyway.
All right. So more about brewing low ABV.
Yeah. The final traditional method is what you referred to earlier, fermentus interruptus.
Yes.
And that is where you use cold temperatures to slow the fermentation of the beer. And when you've achieved the ABV that you're targeting, then you chill the beer and drop the yeast and filter it.
I imagine commercially you could filter it out, or you could centrifuge it, drop your yeast that way. But yeah, my big problem with that is a lot of the characteristics of beer, and bad beer, is when when you're making homebrew and you're not controlling the fermentation temperature, and then it gets colder towards the end, and the yeast lose activity, and you're left behind with acetaldehyde, diacetyl, other compounds that you don't really like, and it
under
attenuate. And I tell you, that is like the worst beer. I taste it commercially, I taste it homebrew. I just I can't drink that. I could drink a non-alcoholic beer before I could drink that crap. So I'm not sure that that's the right way to go.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple of commercial outfits. I believe Brooklyn Brewing is one where they, I believe, I may be wrong here, so don't sue me, but I believe they are using a, slow controlled fermentation to produce a low alcohol beer that is being well received. And I think if you design it right, low OG, getting a small degree of fermentation and stopping it at a low OG, you still have, that 10, 15, or, 3 to 4 Plato
what's the
final
thing
gravity.
That people drink Malta or whatever it is?
Yeah, Malta. Yeah.
Right. Essentially unfermented wort. Or, I can't drink that crap. I can't drink something that's half fermented, whether it started at low ABV or not. I understand a lot of people like sweet things, but I think if you're a beer lover, which I assume if you are wasting your time listening to this crap.
Yep. This show. Yes.
then you are truly a beer lover. You're a passionate SOB, are you not? You want a non-alcoholic beer or low alcoholic beer that tastes like beer. Doesn't taste wordy, doesn't taste unfermented, right? Isn't that what you're striving for? I will say that I tried the beers from the one that was supposedly
low pressure
way of doing vacuum and and lower heat, and it really, I got no heat staling character. I'm not sure the beers were that great that they started with, but it was pretty good. The membrane one, I think holds far more potential for success because it's at cold temperature. You can do it at 32 degrees, whatever you want. Temperature isn't needed in order to make it happen. The problem I had with that was most of those beers were horribly stale, and I think it was the breweries they were working with. I think that their packaging was bad. I think that there was just so many failures in
Quality
like
control along the
you're
way.
saying, you have to add deaerated water back. Well, that deaerated water better be perfect, because you put 100 billion parts per million or parts per billion in there, 100 parts per billion in there, you end up oxidizing that beer. And so pretty much every sample that they gave me, I think there was a good one in there, but there were a lot of really stale beers in there. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's the technology. I think that was, some other aspects, which goes to show. And I tell my folks here, making wort is nothing compared to fermentation, the cellaring, making sure the tanks are clean, and packaging.
Yeah.
Everybody on the packaging line should feel like they're brewers, because it's so critical.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Very good point.
So, all right. Let's see here. Can we take another short break?
Yep. Let's
You
do
okay?
that. I'm okay with
You
that.
okay?
And then we'll come back and talk about the new stuff.
There you go. We'll be back right after this. All right, we're back. Let's see here.
New stuff.
New stuff. Oh, wait. Somebody has don't give me a link to what all that guys. You would need to be at 0.04 pressure to get a boiling point to 20C. At 0, the boiling point is minus 273C. No. Really?
Minus 273. That's like 0 Kelvin.
Okay. Right. That seems totally wrong. Should I click this link? No, I shouldn't. Because then I won't be able to watch the chat.
Yeah.
But right. Okay. Well, then if you need to get to 0.04 or whatever it is, atmospheres or PSI, he didn't say, to get down there, well, then that's clearly possible.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to get well, and if it's a negative 273C, then it seems if you pull an absolute vacuum, you would who was that? You would be able to get down to the 65 Fahrenheit. I think that's great.
It still seems like you'd be pulling off volatiles of some sort. That there you would lose some degree of fermentation character.
Yes, absolutely. But I do think once you have produced a non-alcoholic beer, you could dry hop it again. The problem is you're going to introduce some oxidation again.
Yeah.
Maybe you would try some hop oils or some hop extract or something like that. Some of these newer hop extracts, and maybe get yourself a little bit more hop character that way.
Right. Okay. Well, we have new yeasts now that have recently appeared in the last couple of years. And as opposed to the Fermentus interruptus, this is more of a Fermentus brevis, or short fermentation.
I find fascinating.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by Fermentus brevis?
I mean a short fermentation. They have identified specific yeast strains. Some of them are Saccharomyces cerevisiae from the sake group, called Chevalier. There's another one, Zygo Saccharomyces rushi. What's this one called? Turulaspora strain or family species. Saccharomycodes Ludwigi is another one. All of these yeasts have been previously...
Ludwigi is my favorite so far.
Yeah. They have been identified as being low or no utilizers of maltose. That is, they only ferment simple monosaccharides, your glucose and fructose. And so very limited maltose incorporators.
I would think you'd have to really recast your grist and your recipe, because maltose is fairly sweet Not as
Relatively,
sweet
yeah.
as some of the, I mean, relatively compared to a lot of the other simple sugars. But ooh, boy, I think if you leave behind a lot of maltose, it's going to taste unfermented.
Well, yeah, and I think this is where the promoters of these yeasts and White Labs markets a couple, Fermentus markets one. I think Lallemann's coming out with one. They recommend the lower OG, 1030 kind of OG, or what is that? 6, 7, 8 Plato gravity, because you don't want too many sugars left behind, because really we all know that wort is a very promotes a lot of growth in microbiology. It's a very, very what's the word I want? Rich environment, anyway. And so if you leave a lot of fermentable sugars behind in a beverage, at some point you're going to have bottle bombs, because there's going to be some contamination there, and you're going to get, overpressuring. So one thing that the companies say with regards to using these new yeasts that only have very small degrees of attenuation is that the beer must be pasteurized afterwards when it's packaged.
I mean, you're applying heat, making it taste stale. Wow.
Yeah. Well, but they have, flash pasteurization and tunnel pasteurization technologies that are better than they were.
I understand that, but I guarantee you any application of heat, no matter how brief, produces staling.
Yeah, I can argue with that.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of that. I understand that, but I believe there's all right. I got my 2 or 3 things like I normally do. 3 things. Let's go with 3.
Okay.
1, I think that the future of non-alcoholic beers is not actually fermenting anything. I think it is the application, and it won't be called. It will be called beer based under the current TTB regulations. You would take some sort of malt, flavoring kind of, character, and mix it with some hop character, and mix it with, something, and then, carbonated water, and it would taste like beer, and it would never have fermented, and it would taste, as close to beer as possible. And it'd be stable and all that. And you wouldn't taste wordy and all that stuff. Maybe that's what I should be working on. Maybe I should prove all these people wrong, and this is the way to go.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even need a brewer's license to do it. One of the problems with the existing way of all these theories of doing it is you can have a brewery license.
Good point. Yeah.
So to make non-alcoholic beer, you have to have a brewery license. It's so much easier if you don't need to get a brewery license. So you could make this without. I think that's one way to go. The other is, there's already great low alcohol beer available in Britain, and it is, God's gift to low alcohol beers, which is a lot of the sessionable beers on cask, the traditional British ales that you can find from, in the 2% to the
3%,
3 or so. And oh my God, that is great drinking with tons of flavor, fully attenuated, taste perfect beers. So, let's not let so we're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater here by focusing on, these non-alcoholic beers or low alcoholic beers, and we're trying to come up with new ways of membranes and all this crap, when the brilliant brewers of Britain have already mastered how to make beers that you can drink in massive quantities and not be drunk and not be a problem, and and still enjoy yourself. For God's sakes, support real cask ale in Britain. I beg of you. So that's the other thing. And the third thing is just America, where you don't find a beer at less than 6%. 6% is considered session ale. So screw y'all. We're all gonna go 14 and higher. Let's just go the other way. Let's not screw around with this non-alcohol stuff, because we should just drink what we want to drink and enjoy, and maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's a very good set of points.
My 3 points.
There are 3 points.
I'm gonna have to stick with 3 every show.
Okay. Well, I'm going to follow up with a little bit more about the 2 of these new yeasts, the Saccharomyces Ludwigi and the Saccharomyces cerevisiae Chevalier.
The Ludwigi is my favorite. So.
Yep. The Ludwigi, the White Labs WLP 618, in brewing trials, it is said to produce a generally good beer.
Well, that's what I'm shooting for. Generally good beer.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I'm trying
Heretic.
to
Generally good beer.
Okay.
Our new marketing slogan.
You wouldn't know that it's not, that it is a low alcohol beer as opposed to a no alcohol beer.
Huh. Okay.
It's one study that Fermentis did cited it. Their trial fermentation of Luigi said it had a touch of DMS. That's a small flaw.
I think that's a good thing in a low alcohol beer. Adds fullness and background character.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they tend to be watery. So that might be a good thing.
The Fermentis LA01, it's a new product. This is the sake family of yeasts. It can produce from a 6 to 8p wort, which would be 1024 to 1032. It can produce a 0.5% ABV. It only ferments maltose, it only ferments the monosaccharides, the fruit glucose, fructose. So you have about 15% attenuation of your total gravity. And it is a very linear fermenter, they found. Typically takes 75 hours at 22 degrees Celsius, or around 72 degrees Fahrenheit, to fully ferment. But again, you are leaving behind the maltose, maltotriose, and dextrins. So again, a low OG is.
I think if you're going to do that, one of the keys might be an extremely high mash temperature.
Yeah.
So instead of producing a lot of maltose or other simple sugars, you want to produce the most complex sugars you can. So one, the sweetness drops, but you're still leaving kind of a fullness there.
Yeah.
And then you apply this, and maybe you get results with low alcohol, but it doesn't taste worty. A lot of unfermented maltose tastes worty, if you ask me.
Okay. That's a good way to try it too. So far, they've recommended a low mash temperature to produce lots of the monosaccharides, but I could see trying it your way too.
There you go. All right, another wonderful show. Thank you all for participating, and thanks for supporting our sponsors, Blickman Engineering and Brew Chatter. Make sure to check them out on the web. Send them an email. Tell them how much you appreciate they support this show. If you're listening live, stay tuned. I can't repeat this enough. Stay tuned. We're not going anywhere. Yep. We're going to do another show right after this. We're just going to take a couple minutes for people to pee and to get another beer and all this stuff, but we'll be right back. We're not even going to close the feed. We're going to stay live here, and then we'll be rolling again in 5 minutes at 2 p.m. Pacific time exactly. We'll be going. So prepare your questions. We're going to do your live questions. Travis, I see you there, my brother. I see Gino. I see Leaf. I see all you folks hanging out in the Facebook Live and participating with us. And we really do appreciate it, because pandemic wise, it makes it so much more fun to see you all, because we are so separated. But let's do this. We'll end this show, but stay tuned. We'll be back in 5 minutes with more Brew Strong. But until then, everybody, brew strong.
Brew strong, everyone.